Hey guys, I'm Kevin and I am an editor of Ikigai Studios. As an editor, I specialize in taking raw footage and finalizing it to make it feel like a video worth watching. However, animation doesn't really have any raw footage. Animation is multiple frames that have been drawn out. How do you really edit the animation if a perfect clip can just be drawn out? It isn't live action where you can extend the clip or just use another take of a scene. A while ago, I came across this very question. I did a little bit of digging and watched a video made by the Royal Ocean Film Society. They summarize editors in the field of animation to be different from live action. Many people associate editing with live action. In live action, you take all the footage and then edit it down to something comprehensive. However, in animation, editors take a more in-depth role. Editors are there from the start. They help guide the process of animation. They work with directors, writers, sound designers, animators, and many more to plan out the storyboard and scene. However, how do you showcase an editor's job in world building? Oh, um, here, let me get rid of this. Okay. Where were we again? Oh yeah, so without any footage of myself doing my job, what the do I do? Well, the fact that you're seeing this video means that we somehow came up with an idea to make a video, and this is that idea. In front of me are terrible drawings of the rooms for each character. In these sketches are rough outlines of what is in each room, and I'll be describing why they're important. Brian has outlined and contextualized these characters in the neighborhood by describing the details of our world building. As an editor, my job is to compile these ideas into a visual. Of course, I should compile music as well to create the vibe of the world, but I'll leave that part to Un. Now, of course, I'm not going to leave you guys with just pieces of paper. In this episode, I want to do some editing and not just show my hands and talk about the rooms. But in future episodes, I want to try to do some 3D renders for our four main characters living in this neighborhood. But again, I'll leave that for another episode. Also, unlike Brian's video and as I kind of mentioned before, I'm going to do some visual edits that might contradict the informative script that I've written here. You're going to see some memes sometimes while I talk about details about the room. This is kind of like a mix of chaotic and serious, and it's kind of weird, so sorry if this video seems, again, weird to watch, but I want to make it somewhat interesting and somewhat entertaining to watch while not having to make a visual or cinematic that, is pretty hard to make. I don't have that time, and again, I'm learning how to do 3D renders, so I do have my bowl quite filled at the moment, but anyways, back to the video. Here on this page is a map. I know I may not look like one due to my drawing skills, but please give me some leeway. On this map, we decided to split up the suburban and urban parts of the city using a river. This river would allow us to show off different means of transportation, allowing for shots to feel less stale and for the world to feel more lively. The river is also used as a nice separation point in which the idea of a different lifestyle is emphasized. We want to make a single area unique for viewers and fun to look at. Looking to the left of the river is the suburban area. Let's take a look at Asher's house. At the moment, I don't have any ideas for the exterior of the house, but I do have an idea of the interior of his room. Asher's room is quite simple. Like most students, he has a desk in his room. On it is his personal laptop. It's nothing too fancy, but it's enough to do schoolwork. Of course, he would prefer to use his family computer downstairs, but when he wants peace and quiet to do work, a laptop should suffice. Next to his laptop is a stack of workbooks and novels that he reads from time to time. Asher's the type of student to do work and then proceed to procrastinate by reading the next volume of his favorite romance series. On the other side of his desk are some figures and toys from his childhood. As an older kid, he doesn't seem to like to play with toys, nor does he have time to mess around with them. He likes to look at them as good time capsules and generally showcases that he does have a childlike nature to him. He holds certain things near and dear to him, and that characteristic is seen through his care and love for his family. Around his desk are some toy weapons. What they are don't really matter, nor do I have specific ideas of what they are just yet. Anyways, they are not placed as neatly as things on his desk. In fact, they are just standing there. Unlike items on his desk, the objects outside of his table are more used on a daily basis. Asher doesn't care for neatness and leaves things he uses out and about. Asher is efficient in that way since his siblings and family make him go all around the house. Another reason is that he leaves them out just in case his siblings want to play around with it. Of course, he always makes sure they ask permission before using his weapons, so he always keeps it somewhere where he can see it and remember if it has gone missing. A suitcase is shown and his clothes are super neatly put away. He tends to go on family vacations a lot, and since he stays home with them, he has to keep his clothes tidy. He fears what his mom will say after he hasn't tidied his room. I mean, he has been there for most of his days. Overall, I want the future render of this room to feel like an apartment inside of a house. I want it to feel lively, different, and unique to him. Asher's room is secluded from the rest of his family, and it's the only place away from it. Asher loves his family, but when he wants quality time to himself, this is the best place. The room should define Asher's idea of what home means to him. Moving on to Mavis, his room is quite different yet a bit of the same. Unlike Asher's room, Mavis is tidier overall. His desk has a PC which he uses for his personal use, and he doesn't carry a laptop since he has no use for such a mobile setup or has to deal with a shared PC. Despite having his own desktop, he doesn't really use it much. In his closet, you can see his clothes. Much of it is neat, but since Mavis goes out more often to events and such, you can see a lot more clothes than Asher. Looking back on his desk, you can see a lamp and a ton of paper. Of course, his desk and his entire room are quite simple on the surface, but the story behind each item in his room characterizes Mavis in a very unique sense. His textbooks may show his studiousness, and the way that they are put on his desk may show that he is a neat person, but his life shows different aspirations. A poster showing his liking of comics and superhero is shown. Mavis, compared to his peers, is different. He wants to pursue a career that is very unique, and his textbooks showcase the idea that he really wants to accomplish his goals. I really plan to make this room stand out as basic yet unique with lighting and camera angles. I really want to emphasize the idea of starting anew. Mavis previously couldn't pursue what he wanted to do until now. I want to highlight his passion and the action to take the step forward. If Asher's room highlights home, Mavis's room highlights a transformation into a new one. The idea is hard to tell with specific items, so camera angles and small story details are the main showcases of this room. For Lucian, a lot of inspiration for his room comes from a mesh of my room and creativity. For right now, I plan to keep Lucian's setup close to mine. I plan to have Lucian to have a PC setup. It won't be as cracked as mine, but a little better than Mavis.
どこ見てんだよ。
Coming from a family business that doesn't make a ton of money, it would only make sense that Lucian doesn't have too many luxury items. His only expensive thing in his room is his PC. Instead of spending it on weapons or comics, Lucian is the type of person who spends frugally. His clothes aren't the nicest looking or from a big brand. He has random gimmicks on his desk like mine, but of course nothing like Asher's. It's more or less of random stuff that he got and never put away. Not having friends inside or out of school, he tends to be closer to his family and himself. This allows him to care less about his room appearance. Again, it's a lot messier than Asher's or Mavis's room. Pieces of paper are on his desk along with a variety of items that have once had use. Everything in his room may be a mess, but it is also the type of mess that has an order to chaos feeling to it. Every pile on his desk is sectioned off from work stuff to useless stuff to daily use items. Despite it being messy, the main idea that I want to showcase with this room is the idea that Lucian wants to be someone different. Unlike Mavis, who wants to be someone different in the sense of being what he wants to be, Lucian wants to change what he wants to be. Lucian's room is who he was, someone who was lazy and just stayed at home. His room has a feeling of order within chaos because he wants to change what he thinks is bad to something that is acceptable. I want to shoot this room to feel comfortable but also kind of foreign. To get this feeling, I again want to play with lighting, but also play with the subject for each shot. With a plethora of items to see, I want each shot to focus on some of these items to tell a story of some kind. I don't know what certain items, Lucian. I hit my mic, I'm so sorry. Jesus Jesus Christ, dude. Where was I again? I don't know what certain items Lucian would have at the moment, but oh my god, I messed up again, dude. Ever since that first mess up, Jesus Christ. But that's the general gist of making his room messier than others. Moralia's apartment is the last place I would like to discuss. Moralia's apartment is very different from the rest. As Brian has talked about, it plays with lighting to tell a more detailed story about Moralia. To us, this gives us a playground to touch on darker topics without springing up the idea up randomly. However, from a visual standpoint, it gives the viewer something new to look at. From the minimalist look to even different colors, Moralia's apartment showcases a different side of the world. With this contrast in mind, I want to shape the room with a cinematic sense. I want to depict a colder world, yet I want there to be a glimmer of light instilled in the room. The shot of the room needs to convey a message of relatability for these darker times, but also that it will be okay. I want to try to emulate a wider shot to make Moralia's room feel big. The negative space should make the room feel empty and cold, and instead of focusing on lighting, I want to focus on highlighting the shadows. I want to bring in a colder feel, and I believe playing with shadows is a nice way to display that. Again, a lot of these ideas are really hard to say without a rendered image, but if everyone's room has a meaning to it, I want Moralia's room to feel like a contrast to everyone else. I want to showcase that even in darker times, there may be a silver lining to it. And that's it. I know that down the line that describing these rooms got a bit shorter, but as I kept writing and trying to display what I want the viewer to see, it became increasingly difficult to write out specifics without showing it. For example, Moralia's room is more minimalist, so I don't really have many items to play with and talk about, but I have ideas of what the vibe is, and I can't really show that with these sketches. I mean, I do have the sketches, but I don't think that it's nearly enough. Even as I finish writing my script, I still believe that I haven't done anything different from Brian either. I feel a little off-put since what I'm doing is not different from everyone else, as I am an editor, and again, we are a three-man team. We work fairly close together, making sure that we do our thing. And I'm still developing my skills as an editor, and I hope that this video somehow showcased the idea of an editor in an animation environment. And I hope that this wasn't boring and it was more entertaining, unlike Brian's video. Not to flame him or anything, it's just that I want to build up my unique style, and my unique style is, again, I want it to be a mesh of entertaining and informative. But anyways, I hope that this video was something worth watching, and I hope that you guys like the vibe of it. Of course, if you guys want to see the 3D renders of the room, hopefully I can learn to do that and be able to show my learning process through this series. I mean, how hard can learning how to 3D render be, you know? Like, Right, guys? Like, it can't be that hard. Right, guys? Guys? Oh god, what hole did I dig myself in? But in all honesty, hopefully this video was somewhat entertaining. Hopefully you got something out of it as well. And as we continue this series and episodes, hopefully I can showcase my development through learning how to 3D render, and then hopefully be able to show you guys the rooms in all its glory. But that's me, and I'll see you guys whenever. And please stay tuned for Un's episode. It's going to be great. I heard that he's going to put memes in it, so stay tuned for that. Peace.